Welcome. Today we will have a look at the video from Jeranism. It's called Can We See Stars in Space? First of all, I want to thank all my patrons, members, donors and subscribers. All of you are important for me. Thank you very much.
Houston, we have a problem.
What's going on, everyone? It's jeranism back with another video for you today. This video is a response to Sergei Ryazanskiy. This Russian cosmonaut recently commented on the Flat Earth, asking how could anyone possibly believe this bullshit.
A great question from Sergei.
So, Sergei, let me shed some light on it for you. First off, next to you, here in this article, is a painting of Earth. It is a painting, so you're off to a good start, guy.
And Jared, you did have a very bad start, because do you think Sergei did write this article? Did he choose the images in the article? I don't think so, dear man.
Sergei, tell me this. One of the often forgotten details of why people can believe that perhaps the Earth is flat, and perhaps you all are deceiving the world, is this. 19 years you've been in orbit. 19 years in orbit of the Earth, and not once, listen carefully folks, not one time has NASA or Roscosmos provided the people of Earth a 24-hour live stream of the Earth from space. Say what? Yes. And don't believe all the little fanboys that will come into the comments dropping links to 15-minute segments on repeat on YouTube or links to channels that have spliced clips together. Those are not 24/7 live streams. They are called lie streams. Don't get me wrong, if you do the kind of research that Globers do, you can find tons of places that say NASA has 24/7 live streams, even at nasa.gov. They claim here in 2014 that they're going to start providing 24/7 live streams from the ISS. However, if you just do the research yourself, you can go to Ustream. NASA has 2 channels, and neither one of those channels goes longer than an hour before they cut the transmission because they're on the dark side of Earth. That's hilarious.
Okay, several things in this part of your video that shows that you don't understand anything at all. If you start with the stars, have you used a camera? If you take a picture of the moon, for instance, do you see the stars behind the moon? It's very hard to do that in one exposure because the moon is much brighter than the stars behind it. It's the same on the ISS. If they are taking a picture of the Earth, it's very hard to see the stars behind it. This is basic knowledge. And the nonsense about the telescope on ISS. First of all, that's not the purpose with ISS. And secondly, it's not a suitable platform for a telescope because ISS is rotating around the globe in 90 minutes. If you look at the Hubble telescope instead, the purpose is to be a telescope in space. And do it rotate on 90 minutes around the globe? Of course not. You can observe the ISS when it passes over you. It's plenty of websites will give you the information you need when you can see it on your location. And then you also could calculate when it's on the other side of the Earth. Why would they spend the money to make 24/7 coverage of the Earth? to convince some fools that are part of the flat earth cult. And if you want images from space 24/7, you have the Himabari, the Japanese weather satellite taking pictures of the southern hemisphere, of the Pacific and so on every 10th minute, and on Japan every 2.5 minutes. You have information out there, and if you look at the weather satellites and the images and look up in the sky, they correspond to each other. Oh dear.
I mean, come on. You figured out how to get Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 to communicate with Earth from 13 billion miles, but you haven't quite figured out that live video feed from the dark side of the Earth yet. I guess you guys have never heard of these satellites you say exist. Well, newsflash, Sergey, we actually do live streaming from Earth, even if it's on the dark side. So you might want to talk to somebody down here. They can figure it out. Also, I can make a phone call 12,000 miles and there is no delay. And you clowns from 250 miles up have a 5-second delay? That doesn't seem right. I mean, they had a 1.5-second delay from the moon. They're 240,000 miles away, and you have a 5-second delay from 250 miles? It just doesn't seem right. And how can it be that during your interviews, which are always with children, do you never get interrupted by the blue screen, which can be seen every 30 minutes when watching the live stream from the cameras outside? Can the cameras inside provide footage when on the dark side of the Earth, but not the ones on the outside? Oh, and why are you astronauts, who should be very sharp, only ever given pre-scripted questions from children? Let's watch here as Peggy Whitson reads every single question and answer ahead of time, and listen to the questions from these little children, asking about career goals and using words like citizens and other questions that have been obviously given to them to specifically ask. We wouldn't want the scientist astronaut Peggy to get stumped by a hard question from a second grader, now would we? And even with questions she already knows, her answers could have been given by anyone. I mean, is this really the cream of the crop? Now let's watch her read.
What would you be if you were not an astronaut?
I think if I weren't an astronaut, I would still be working at NASA. I love NASA.
What was your most memorable space experience?
Well, living up here every day is actually an incredibly memorable experience.
How did it feel to make history and become the first woman commander of an expedition?
Well, in many ways, it was never something that I had necessarily planned on for a long time.
So as you can see, she's clearly reading every single question or answer, and I'm sure that girl just came up with the question of how did it feel to make history and become the first female leader of an expedition. And I'm sure this next child also came up with this question.
What were the keys to reaching your career goals?
I think that determination and work ethic, I think, were key for me. I had to study really hard in school to do well, but that paid off, that all the studying paid off for me. So I think determination and work ethic are extremely important.
How does the food you grow in space taste differently from Earth?
That's a good question. We've grown a couple of different things up here in space. When I got here, Shane was already growing some lettuce.
When do you think civilians begin to live in space?
Actually, that's a really good question. And
Did that one stump you, Peggy? Okay. Now listen to this answer for the question of what's the most beautiful thing you've seen from the ISS. This is typical indoctrination. It's the point that needs to be hammered home to these children. Here she goes.
To me, I think the most beautiful thing about our planet is looking at the limb of the Earth, the curve of the Earth that we can see from our viewpoint, especially at sunrise and sunset. It is an amazing time.
When they do these type of questions, these children is representing a bunch of children. Of course, they have discussed in the class or something what questions to ask Do you think they choose random children who make random questions? Of course they have planned it in their class together with the teacher, and I wouldn't be surprised if they voted what questions to ask to the people on ISS. You're a cult figure in a stupid cult and everything is suspicious. Oh dear.
What is your favorite book and why?
I think, growing up, my favorite book was Illusions by Richard Bach.
Illusions. Her favorite book is Illusions. So I hope you're starting to see why people are entertaining the idea of a flat Earth. Let's go back a little bit earlier when I asked you about the stars. Can we or can't we see them from space? I mean, being that we cannot get the answers ourselves, we need you, the astronauts, who are paid by us to tell us the truth. And here's something that no one seems to understand. In space exploration, which is funded by the people of the world, and where it is not possible to have independent witnesses of the actual events, we as people have every right to expect the record to be 100% genuine, honestly portrayed, and honestly represented. So I ask you again, can we see stars in space? Let's ask some astronauts.
Whilst
from
in
Mark
space,
Cameron. This is from Mark Cameron.
Whilst in space, have you ever looked away from Earth into the black void?
Yeah.
all
because
the
you
time.
can see.
Yeah,
Because you can see the stars.
Oh yeah.
And pretty much all the time you can see the stars.
Yeah. It's not
which
a
is a
black
cool
void.
thing.
I mean, it's black, but there's all kinds of little polka dots.
There's all the stars there, and the cool thing is about it, you can see it during the day.
Yeah, you can, and there's more than stars. You can see planets. You can
Right.
see moons.
You see the gas Magellan clouds of the Milky
you
Way
see
galaxy.
the Magellanic Clouds.
Magellanic. See, I was.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. So we can see stars from the day side or the night side of Earth. Got
We
it.
went up, and when you're in space and you're looking into deep space and you're on the sun side of the orbit, the sunlight washes out all the starlight, so you can't see any stars, just like here on Earth. But then when you look out into deep space away from the sun, it's the darkest black you can imagine, right? And so what happens is you really lose your depth perception. You can't tell if something's close by or far away, and so right?
Like, are they just brighter than on Earth, or how would you describe it?
They're brighter, but they're different. A lot of things different about it. One, you don't have the atmospheric distortion, so they don't twinkle, right? So you see lots of points, and that literally millions of them. There's the thing about Carl Sagan, billions of billions of stars. There really are billions and billions of stars, and you can see them. In fact, they're so numerous, it's very difficult to pick out the constellations you and I see here on the ground.
Mr. Armstrong, I do realize that when you were on the moon, you had very little time for gazing upwards. But could you tell us something about what the sky actually looks like from the moon, the sun, the earth, the stars, if any, and so on?
The sky is a deep black when viewed from the moon, as it is when viewed from cislunar space, the space between the Earth and the moon. The Earth is the only visible object other than the sun that can be seen, although there have been some reports of seeing planets. I myself did not see planets from the surface, but I suspect they might be visible.
So Sergey, I have to ask people, how is it that they believe the bullshit that has come from NASA, Roscosmos, and the other space agencies? Don't we deserve the truth? Tell me, Sergey, who is it that pays your salary? Who pays for your rockets? Who pays for the Soyuz? Who paid for the ISS?
In this part of the video, Jared did repeat these clips time after time after time, so I did cut it down. But he obviously don't understand this at all. If you are on ISS and looking towards the sunny side and to the Earth, you don't see the stars because of you have brighter objects like the sun. But if you look the other way, away from the sun, you will see the stars. The same goes for the moon. When they were on the surface of the moon, in the bright sunlight looking towards Earth, they only can see this Earth and the sun. This is basic understanding about lights and your limitations in your eyes. This is so damn stupid. And to the last part, about money and convincing people. Jared, you are a part of a small cult that don't believe in space. They have made a lot of scientific achievements on ISS, but you won't look that up. What do you think they're doing up there? Because it's evidently you can see ISS, it exists. So if you think it's some kind of balloon inside the dome, what is the purpose with it? This is so damn stupid.
Speaking of things that you should be able to see from the ISS through a telescope if you only had one up there, but I guess you're too busy sending up NFL jerseys, footballs, and gorilla costumes to worry about other things like a telescope. But what about Venus? Yeah, Venus, I just recently, just to show you a little reason why we doubt the space agencies, went to Universe Today to learn a little bit about Venus. So I went to Universe Today, which is pretty respected in the astronomical world. And what did I find? Well, here is a picture of Venus as imaged by the Magellan 10 mission. It says below it, the planet's inhospitable surface makes exploration difficult. So as we continue to scroll down, we can see some other pictures of rocks. Wow. And they must be real because they have letters and numbers on the bottom of them. From 1975, no doubt. 43 years ago, you sent a craft to Venus, and it took photos in this inhospitable place, and then I guess used its 1975 internet space Wi-Fi to transport these images 25 to 250 million miles or so. Sounds believable. As we keep scrolling, we see another image of Venus. This is the Mariner 10 image, and it's blue. Yeah, blue Venus, even though we scroll back up here and see the other image was red. Yeah, I should just believe whatever you say, right? So I hope you will quickly see why we questioned it all. And Sergey, let me just tell you, your agency, along with NASA, have filled the heads of the public with lies, with distorted truths, with fisheye lenses, and impossible feats that we are all supposed to believe just because you say so.
And once again, you can't have a telescope on an object that rotates around the globe in 90 minutes. This is too stupid. And regarding Venus, Venus have a dense atmosphere. So if you're close to it, it don't look the same as on distance. And it can be observed from Earth. So with a decent telescope, you can look at it yourself. Okay, I did show the whole video from jeranism, and it's obvious he don't make any research at all. And this is so stupid claims. Why would NASA make things to convince a small cult that space is real or have a 24/7 camera on Earth? Why would they waste money on those fools? And why don't jeranism look at Venus in the sky by himself? Or why does it look at ISS? All are visible from Earth. Oh dear. I think I lost some brain cells listening to this stupid member of the Flat Earth cult. let's end this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, become a member and support the channel. Subscribe or just come back next time I'm showing a video. Have a nice day all. Bye.